Fresh out the oven, it's Cinema Bums. I'm Emmett.
And I'm Wade.
Cinema Bums is a podcast where we watch through every single movie in popular film franchises, one each week, to try and track how the storytelling changes over time. Today, we are continuing our mini-series Unforgettable, covering all the films written by Greta Gerwig. We will fully spoil today's film, but we will not spoil any future entries in the series. Wade, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Emma. Thank you for asking.
Good.
I went to the eye doctor today and got my eyes dilated. It's just starting to wear off, but I must say you're looking better than usual. I spent the 5 minutes before we started recording watching every YouTube video about how to pronounce Saoirse Ronan's name. And now I know. How are you doing, Emmett?
I'm proud of you for doing that, so I'm doing great. Anterior, how are you doing?
I am doing swell, guys. I'm doing so good.
Fantastic.
I'm glad that you both are doing well.
I'm glad that you are here with us, and I'm also glad that you're doing well. Because today, we're honored to have a special guest. She's a writer, an actor, and a comedian, but perhaps best known to our audience for her popular series, Riverdale Explained. Please welcome Anterior Leverett. Woo!
You know, those Riverdale kids, I am so behind because the stress is like up here. Like just through the roof. Yeah. I'm tired. This age jump is so much. Oh my God. I hope I didn't spoil that for anybody, but here we are.
You spoiled it for me, but I have no clue what the show's about.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It matters not.
Fantastic.
I don't think they know.
Yeah, it feels like not the best pandemic viewing, not the relaxing watch you want right now.
No, it is not. It is every day just like a struggle trying to get through watching season 4. And I'm like, why did I do this to myself? I played myself with these children and their antics. And these aren't children. These are like hot young adults that we're just passing off as teenagers. And I don't get it. Like, Cole Sprouse he's 30. He's my age. Like, we're old people. We cannot be playing teenagers. I hate it so much, but here we are. And then Molly Ringwald is someone's mom. So there we go. Yes, Molly Ringwald is Archie's mom, and I think she only got hired because she has red hair. So Molly Ringwald as a mom is not my favorite thing ever, but, you know, here we are.
That doesn't feel good. But let's talk about what we're here to talk about.
I would say along, like, at that sliding scale, like, this movie has a bunch of, like, 22-year-olds playing 17 and 18-year-olds, and you're like, wow, they really look like kids. Because that's how far ahead our scale is.
Damn, that's true. That's true. Anterior, you were telling us before off podcast that you hadn't seen this movie before, but had you seen any of the other Greta Gerwig movies before?
And I didn't really know who she was before we started this, so now I have an inkling of an idea, and I'm gonna watch Little Women at some point because she also apparently wrote the story on that. So yeah, no, I was really excited to watch this. I'd been wanting to watch it for years, but I'd never had the chance to. So I'm super excited to see more of her work.
Sweet. So today we are talking about the film Lady Bird. This movie, in a 3-sentence summary, is about a young woman named Lady Bird growing up in Sacramento. It's her senior year of high school, and it's kind of about her coming-of-age story as she gets into a college on the East Coast and dukes it out with her mom for control of her life, essentially. Wade, what are the quick stats on this film?
Yeah, as you said, it was written and directed by Greta Gerwig. It was her solo debut for both. She had co-written and co-directed movies before, but the first time she'd done either on her own. And this film does come out 10 years after her first credit, which is Hannah Takes the Stairs, which she wrote. Her partner, Noah Baumbach, who directed the last two, offered to co-write or direct this after reading the original script, but Greta decided to do it herself because she said she wanted to absorb it fully.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
It has a score by John Bryan. It runs 1 hour and 34 minutes, which is 10 minutes longer than any of her other movies have been so far. It was wide released on November 24th, 2017 by A24. And we should talk about A24 for a minute, I guess, because it's the first time doing one of theirs on the pod, and they're like truly the flavor of the week right now, I feel like. They're a small production company that were founded in 2012. Some of their early movies have been beloved but weren't really hits. Their first hits came in 2015 with Room and Ex Machina. And then in 2016, they really broke out with The Witch and Moonlight.
Oh.
And I feel like that's sort of the framework for all their stuff going forward, is they have like the like prestige horror, the prestige genre stuff they do, like Hereditary and The Lighthouse. And then they also have sort of like the lush Oscar small budget, like beautiful drama, like Moonlight and this movie and Minari I just watched the other week was really good. So that's sort of like what they're all about. And Greta actually made this movie by herself. It was produced, but it was done, and then she sold it to A24.
Oh, whoa.
So it wasn't like they had commissioned it, like I think the Baumbach movies were, because I think he just has some sort of like studio deal, because he's been working forever. She didn't pay for it all herself. Like, it was produced by people, but then they sought someone to fund it, and A24 bought it.
That's sweet.
It had a budget of $10 million, and it made $80 million. It was a big hit. That is 8 times what any Greta Gerwig movie had made before.
Wow.
It is currently the second highest any Greta Gerwig movie made at the box office. It is also the second highest grossing A24 film.
Okay, that makes
After
sense.
the other Greta Gerwig
Oh, okay.
After Uncut Gems.
Oh, okay, good.
But it's actually just slightly. It's like 2 million more Uncut Gems has on this. And also, what I didn't realize is A24 only releases movies in the United States. I don't know, like Focus Features or like Universal, like some other company releases all of their stuff internationally. So sort of the threshold for how much money they can make is a little bit less than other studios, because they're just in the U.S.
Interesting.
This movie was critically acclaimed. It has a 94 on Metacritic, making it, again, the highest critically rated movie we have ever covered on this podcast. It was nominated for 5 Oscars: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress for Ronan, Best Supporting Actress for Metcalf, and Best Screenplay. It did not win any of them. Greta Gerwig was the 5th female director to ever be nominated. Pre-2020, she's the most recent female director to be nominated.
So you're saying there is not a woman director since
That is
2017
apparently what the Academy
who is worthy
is saying.
of being considered in the top 10.
That is what the Oscars
is saying.
And I looked in the screenplay categories, but actually I had heard this but never really looked into this. In like the 40s and 50s, there were a ton of female screenwriters.
Huh.
Like early on in the Hollywood system, like everything was written by women. For those 2 decades, it's like every nominee is a woman. Right. And then after that, they're a lot more rare. The numbers, because of that, are much higher than for director.
For a screenwriter?
Yeah.
Wow.
And screenwriter is also divided into like original and adapted.
Right, so you have more chances.
Well, okay, well, I'm just going to let them have that, but that makes no sense to me, but all right.
I agree. Lady Bird was also selected, alongside one of our previous films, Logan, as one of the 10 films to be preserved by the National Board of Review in 2017. My review quote this week is from Richard Brody at The New Yorker. He writes, "That Greta Gerwig is a brilliant writer has been clear since the very start of her movie career, because the films in which she first starred, such as Hannah Takes the Stairs, were already feats of writing. Her dialogue in those films were mostly improvised, but it's vastly superior to the texts of many acclaimed screenwriters. Other films that she has written, such as Frances Ha and Mistress America, are as readable as they are watchable. And her new film, Lady Bird, the first feature that she has directed alone, the first to be made on a substantial budget with a large and professional cast and crew, is full of exquisite dialogue."
It does reference those old movies we love, and it also, I mean, you two are both playwrights. What do you think about, like, as playwrights, as people, I feel like playwrights are often more into writing dialogue than screenwriters are. Because screenwriters are thinking like a whole like visual image, and as a playwright, and there's something about the like the presence of dialogue as being like the main thing that you have. And also she started out saying that she wanted to be a playwright. Greta did all the way back in 2006.
I mean, I personally enjoy films where there's dialogue and conversations happening. I love when people can use words and make them push the story instead of us having to see a visual thing happen. I was really captured by the dialogue that was happening here, and when Lady Bird is having this conversation with her mother or with Jules or with Danny, just watching how they're talking to each other, but also how she captured 2002. Which is when this movie takes place. Because I think at any point, like, you could kind of, mess around and not really capture the essence of that time period and how specific that year is right after 9/11 and all of these things happening. So yeah, I love dialogue. And when a writer can really capture it and really do the work, and I don't have to have all this like fanfare, you've done the job for me. You've given me something I can work with. So yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed the dialogue in this film.
Yeah, I did too. And I feel like in the past movies, there are only some people who can handle her dialogue. And I think it's like, I think the script shines so much because she has actors who are selling it and like figuring out. And also, I'm sure because she's behind the camera and like getting the pace of it right. It's almost Gilmore Girls-y and like how quick everyone is talking and like the speed that this movie is going at.
Wade said right after we watched it that it was like 91-minute scenes.
Yeah.
And I think that was a very true statement about what this movie is. It's just like, and they're all real scenes with like stakes and stuff going on in them, but they're all just like so quick and so, I don't know. They're very efficient in the storytelling, I feel like.
But I think when we have conversations with people, especially when we're in these really intense moments, it's not a lull. Like we're getting to our points and like we're talking over each other. And like, I love that. I think it's probably great that she was behind the camera with this project because of the fact that she could control and like really get her actors to understand the pacing of the world. That pacing was perfection as far as I'm concerned. So yes, I think that's correct. Like 91-minute scenes is probably the most accurate way to describe this movie. Just because like they were quick in and out and like we were on to the next thing. We got everything we needed from that scene. We didn't lose anything. And we're on to the next and we're pushing the story forward and we're where we got to go. So yeah, I fully agree with that.
We're kind of getting into it already a little bit, but Anterior, on our 2-point scale of rating movies, would you say that Lady Bird 2017, Greta Gerwig, written and directed, is a flop or a bop?
It is a boppington bopperton for me. Just bops all day long. I was in my room watching it, and I have a roommate, and my roommate and her boyfriend had watched it a couple of weeks prior, and they're like, we're just waiting to see what you think about it. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm excited. And so I am in my room, like, laughing at a certain point, like, loudly, and I can hear my roommate just yell, I don't remember anything being that funny. And I was like, yo, well, I am busting a gut in here, so I don't know what you're talking about, but I enjoy this, so get it together over there, girl. I need you to rewatch type of thing.
Awesome. Wade, would you say flop or bop?
A bop for me, too. Who do you think I am going to come in here and call this movie a flop? It's a big old bop. I saw it in theaters when it came out with my mom.
Oh, wow.
And with Laura, which was a fun special experience. And I hadn't seen it since then. So I was wondering if it would, like, hold up, as you always do, and it definitely did. And also, to Anterior's point, I remember when I first saw it, I was, like, very taken by the drama and, like, the heartbreak and stuff. And, like, this time watching it, like, all that stuff is good, but I really thought of it a lot more as a comedy. Like, the comedy really stood out to me this time watching it. Emmett, a flop or bop?
This is a bop. It's so good. I love everyone in this movie. Unlike Mistress America, which I also love, this movie has only likable characters in it. Where that movie like kind of has a lot of unlikable characters who are doing funny things. This movie is all likable people who end up doing bad things to each other for a good portion of the movie until everything gets resolved. But like I think there's something genuinely like sweet about almost every character in the movie. And it is funny, and it gives you the whole range of emotions. I think it's wonderful.
Only likable. You know what? I'm gonna. I did not hate anybody. For sure, didn't hate anybody. I will say there were parts where certain people stressed me out, but I didn't dislike them. But it was like, you are stressing me. I'm ready to like have a conversation with you. But sure,
Who would you say?
Who would I say was my most stressful?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna be,
you talking about Chalamet?
Oh God, Chalamet he is one of the people where I was like, you remind me of like one of my students who thinks that he's just really cool and like I've got this. Like, sir, you have nothing. What are you, 17? You know nothing. You know absolutely nothing. I need you to calm that down. Mom also stressed me out. Laurie Metcalf, like, she puts her foot in this role. I will give her flowers. She did the work in this role, but my God, was I feel like I've been shot down. I feel like I've been told I can't go east to college and that I'll never get into any other school but Davis. I am shooketh. But to like see I'm serious. I was like, oh my God, like, why you keep telling her she can't go to school?
Yeah.
Or that she's not good enough, essentially. But I think that was her like weird way of trying to protect her from what could happen in any type of rejection, because you know, New England schools are hard to get into and there's this prestige, and if you know your child is a bit of a slacker, it's like, girl, you're not doing what you got to do, so no, don't go apply to those schools. But you know, just a little like, if you apply, good for you type of thing would have been nice. But I do get her trying to protect her, and also just not really, I don't think she really knew how to like love Lady Bird in the way that she needed to be loved. But they would have these sweet moments together after having these huge blow-ups that I found so beautiful. Like the moment where they're like going to open houses. That was the most beautiful scene ever. I was
it's
like,
so sweet.
This is our Sunday ritual, is going to like open houses? Yeah, dog, I want to do that too. I would love for my mom to be like, let's go, girl. Let's look at somebody's rich house. Why not? So Laurie Metcalf, though she put her foot all up and through that role, stressed me out a lot throughout this movie. Timothée Chalamet, I could have kept him or left him. Like, his character was literally like, I've seen this boy in when I was 17 as an adult dealing with children and students. It's like, young man, have a seat. And like, have a seat, sir. So those two for sure were the ones that stressed me the most.
You know, I was thinking about with her mom, because Laurie Metcalf is, you know, now that you get to it, she is kind of horrible to her a lot of this movie, like in like really specific ways, in like ways that she knows she's really like pushing her buttons, you know. But it's something that struck me when I was watching the movie is it's like right after this moment where they're having the argument about, or they're talking about the husband has lost his job. Like things are going to be really tight, and they're like looking through all this stuff. And then she comes home, and she was supposed to be staying the night over at her friend's house anyway. So she wasn't even going to be home, but she comes home and she like tries to sneak into the house, and her mom goes from this situation where like everything is falling apart for the two of them. And then she goes and like exerts all of this control and all of this like power over her daughter in that moment, and you're like, oh, right, that's why you're doing this. It's like the one tiny little corner of control is like over your kid, and the world is horrifying and really scary at this moment in history. You have good reason to be afraid, and you have good reason to be upset, but the way that she ends up like taking that out on the people closest to her is really, really sad. Really, really sad thing for a character.
Lady Bird is also pretty horrible to her.
Yes, that's also
they
that
are
is
not
also
good to
true.
each other at all.
No. I guess we kind of expect teenagers to be like ugly to their parents, but you kind of don't expect them to do it back. Something that struck me too is that like Lady Bird's whole life is kind of all about her mom, but her mom's whole life is not all about Lady Bird. Like, it's important to her, but I wouldn't, like, we see a lot of the mom by herself doing other things. And that it's not like she's always thinking about Lady Bird. It's more like she's always thinking about money. Because there's a lot of like class stuff going on in this movie too, for sure.
Yeah.
But like Lady Bird is like in every scene talking about her mom or thinking about her mom, or like she goes off on her mom all the time, but then like whenever anyone says anything bad about her, she like defends her mom.
Yeah.
And like never says anything. She will always come to her mom's defense and then also always come at her mom, you know?
It's very much like, I can talk bad about my mom, but you better not ever say anything crazy about my mom.
Yeah.
And watching her defend her mom the way that she did, like, I know there's a scene with her and Danny where Davey's like, she's kind of horrible. And she's like, no, she loves me. Like, pump the brakes, sir. You will not come for my mom.
Yeah.
And you're right, Wade. Like, very much a lot of Lady Bird's kind of the way that she wanders the world is trying to get her mom's approval and like loving on her mom, but her mom certainly is more concerned about how is this, how it's going to get paid for? How are we going to keep food on the table? Like, I'm concerned about these like things that I have to like make sure stay in place so that you can go to some type of school, so that you can continue to go to this Catholic school that you're going to. Yeah, it's weird imbalance. It's interesting to see these dynamics in mothers and daughters, but I do love the little moments that we get of seeing them just be two people who kind of love each other and like each other and want to be around each other. So I think that's a great balance that Greta has in the script.
Who else do you love in this movie?
I mean, everyone. Take your pick, really. I guess if we're talking about the mom, we can talk about Tracy Letts as the dad, because I like him a lot. And we should mention Tracy Letts, like one of the greatest American playwrights, putting so much good stuff on the stage and then like quietly having this second career as warm father figures in movies in recent years, which is very cool to see. I think that that's maybe the role that has the least written for it. And like he really brings it in sort of all of like the quiet moments and his posture and attitude about being a dad who's like been laid off. This was something that I definitely related to. I saw this happen to my own dad in the recession, where he was just sort of like overqualified for a lot of the techie jobs that he was going out for. And sort of like at the early boom of the computer age, like how a lot of the first sort of people into it got left behind. So that felt like very accurate to me. The dad is very funny. And I like that it's not like she loves her dad, she hates her mom. Like they're both a lot more nuanced than that.
Because she's kind of like a little embarrassed by her dad, but he's like, I love him so much. And the thing that like the one moment to me that is like the standout moment of like why this guy is great and why he's so great in this movie is, well, two. It's like when he's gone for the interview that, as Wade says, he's overqualified for, and he knows they're not going to hire him because he's old and overqualified and not cool. And then he sees his son in the same suit going in to look at go for the same job. And instead of doing any weird competitive, like toughen up, be a man, like he like straightens his son's tie, like tells him go and like knock it out of the park. And it's just like such a sweet moment. And like, he like 100% believes it. And like, that's what he really means. And then there's also the moment when he comes to bring her the cupcake for her birthday. And he says, I couldn't forget your birthday. I only have one daughter. And then he says, well, Shelley too, which is the girl who's like sleeping on the couch, who's his son's girlfriend. And it's just like such a sweet moment of like, he cares for like everyone in the whole house and like takes care of everybody. I think it's really sweet.
Oh my God. I do love this family as a whole. Though there is dysfunction, like they're obviously people who love each other. And one moment that really stood out for me was when Lady Bird came back from Thanksgiving with her friends, and she and Shelley are outside. And Shelley's like, hey, your mom really missed you. And they just had this moment of bonding when the first few scenes we saw of Shelley, she was just, Miguel's girlfriend, and she was just living on the couch. But for them to have these moments, these quiet moments together as like sister-in-laws, I guess, because were they married or were they boyfriend-girlfriend? I don't remember. But either way, like as her and like the brother's girlfriend, they had a really wonderful bond, I could tell. And it's awesome how this family brought Shelley into their fold as well. A character who also just touches my heart, sweet Jules. Just everybody needs a friend like Jules. Jules is always looking out for her girl, just trying to, make this high school experience the best that she can. And Jules, I think, is just is what reminds her most of home whenever things, happen. Because she's like, I'm going to City College, I'm going to be around. These are the things that I'm going to do. And this is my home. This is my space. And she's comfort, I feel, for Lady Bird. And whenever she, decides she wants to go to prom after trying to be with the cool kids for a little too long, she knows that she can go to Jules and be like, hey, girl, put on your dress. We're going to go to prom. We're going to eat cheese first, but then we're going to go to prom. And why not? And I thought that was so awesome. And yes, because y'all are still kids. Enjoy that. I wish I would have done those things when I was younger, but I was too busy trying to be grown and trying to get out of my parents' house and trying to go off and not really reveling in those moments of the last few weeks of high school and just being a kid. Because once you're not a kid anymore, it kind of sucks. So
I love that arc is like we've seen that arc before, she ditches her best friend to be with the popular kids, and then she ends up ditching the popular kids to come back. But it's I don't want to say underplayed, but it just feels so honest that it doesn't feel tropey. And we don't sort of get these big melodramatic scenes of Jules crying or them having a confrontation when she comes back on the prom scene. They just are immediately cool again, and they understand each other on such a deep level.
Yeah, and even when she left to go be with the popular kids, whenever Jules wasn't where she was supposed to be, she noticed. She noticed that Jules wasn't in class anymore. She's like, hey, girl, Hey, where are you? You're supposed to be in class. Why are you not there? Though she wasn't hanging out with Jules in that moment, she always just knew where Jules was and just wanted to be able to see her and just watch out for her. And it was clear to me that she still cared very much about Jules while trying to find this new independence. I honestly think that was her trying to see if she could hang out with other people. But in return, she's tried, not in a bad way, but can she make friends outside of what's comfortable, what's home, because she wants to leave this space. But in the same time, she kind of, this is her best friend in the process, but just leaving her to the side and being like, all right, I'm going to go, mess with this sister's van over here and prank people and lie about who I am. It's no big deal.
And then Jules gets saddled with that nerd Darlene.
Oh, that nerd.
That's all she gets.
That narc Darlene.
All she gets is Darlene, who's like, hey, we're going to class, girl.
Yeah.
So dumb. Also, Darlene is Catherine Newton, who is in Blockers and Detective Pikachu, and was just in Freaky with Vince Vaughn. So she's another. A lot of these kids have gotten much more famous since the movie came out. I think in part because of the movie, and also because this movie is on Netflix, and I think that lets a lot more people see it. But in some ways, it's already kind of cool watching it because it's all of these dudes are together in one movie before they were super big.
Also, so we were talking about Jules, played by the incredible Beanie Feldstein. She has some of my favorite lines in this movie, including "Don't be Republican," in response to Lady Bird worrying about terrorism in New York. And also she has an offhand line just at the very end, her mom has been dating this other guy, and that's been a plot point, but they never talk about her dad at all. Until one line is dropped about him. He says, yeah, my real dad resurfaced in Yellowstone, so I'm going out there for the summer. And you're just like, what? Resurface? How? Where? Out of a mud pit? What's going on? It's incredible. She's so good in this.
She's Jonah Hill's little sister.
I discovered that recently, and I was like, yeah, no, that makes total sense. Where was I?
And she was even in the super bad of this generation of film.
Yeah, Booksmart, right?
Too. Yeah.
I love Booksmart. I'm just gonna shout it out here. It's on Hulu. Everyone should go watch Booksmart. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Especially if you like this movie. The ending of Booksmart is kind of a joke about the ending of this movie. And it's also about Beanie Feldstein as one of two high school seniors in California who are about to graduate college and graduate high school and go to college. So yeah, that's my plug for that. That's my sponsored content for this week. I think something cool about this movie is that it like pulls a trick to make you think that all of these characters have lives beyond just what we see of them, because it like is just so offhandedly like putting in little life details about them. Like Chalamet, whose dad is dying of cancer, and then you just see him for a second, and Danny is gay, and then he like has a grandma who has a Reagan poster, which he talks about for a second, and you see the father from the beginning like going to some sort of clinical depression, I assume, like talks with the mom, and it just like these little bits that don't lead to anything but are there to make you feel like these are like real fully developed characters who have things going on beyond just like their function in the movie, you know? Like, Chalamet has a life that's not just being, like, the jerk, hot first boyfriend that she has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still a jerk, but yes.
Okay, so let's... Yes, still a jerk. I want to say about him in this movie that he is reading an awesome book called The People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn, which is, like, a joke, kind of, that he's reading it in this movie, in the sense that, like, of course he is. But it is a really good book about like the struggle of like labor versus capitalism, like, and like the working class against capitalism for the entire history of America. I would recommend it, even though it is a virtue signaler for the old Timothy Chalamet in this film. And also there's a great graphic novel adaptation of it called A People's History of the American Empire. So that's my sponsored content for the week.
All of the characters, the details are so specific, going back to like the 2002 of it all. Yeah, like everything he talks about is so spot on to like the edgy counterculture dudes. Yeah, I'm not going to name any names here, but I know some people who are just like that and who have like those barter system books and haven't lied in 2 years and are at the back of the party reading a book while everyone else is going crazy. Like,
I found it very interesting, and this is a completely different topic, but Jenna's want to stay in Sacramento and be a housewife and be a mom and things like that. It's like, looking at Jenna, she does not give those vibes that she would at all want to be, you know, stuck in Sacramento, as Lady Bird would say. But like, she just wants to be just a mom and a, you know, a wife one day, and that's kind of it. And she just gives this air that she would be kind of out, you know, living a life in LA, like doing all of these pretty like baller and awesome things. And she's like, nah, I'm cool with Sacramento. Sacramento's home. This is where I want to be, and nothing's gonna change that. And I do love how the characters, what they seem is not. They're not that. And it really speaks to the fact that these are fully fleshed out characters, like fully fleshed out. Even when, you know, you think you know what's going on, they will always drop a little nugget to let you know something about them that's like completely different. So that just stuck with me like throughout the movie. I was like, huh, really? Really, Jenna? Okay, girl. Well, I'll let you have that. I would for sure think that you'd be trying to get out of Sacramento just like Lady Bird. Maybe not to go to the East Coast, but for sure you're not trying to stay in Sacramento. And then she just like pulls up and is like, nah, dog, I'm here.
She also is like a little nicer than you would expect her to be, especially after like Lady Bird lies to her and she finds out that she's poor and everything.
She does call her weird at one point, but she is much nicer than...
Yeah, no, she's not cool, but she's nicer than she probably would be in another movie.
Yeah.
She also looks a little excited the last time you see her, when Lady Bird is like, actually, I don't like this. Actually, I want to go and see my best friend and not hang out with you guys. Like, she looks like she's a little bit like into Lady Bird standing up for herself like that as she's watching from the back seat.
And you know, if her boyfriend is friends with Chalamet's character, I'm sure she's seen like 1,000 girls go through this thing where they change themselves for Chalamet and like whatever thing he's reading today and like whatever coffee he's into this week, like they're going to change themselves. And you know, I do remember that moment where she does kind of look like, oh, okay, she's got some, you know, she's got some chutzpah. She can stand up for herself and she can say, no, I actually am not about to change these plans. I've got this really cute dress on that I found and I got really excited about, so I'm gonna go to prom. You don't have to go, but you can for sure drop me off at my friend's house because I need to make that right.
These two dresses that she wears, she has two very pink dresses in this movie. They're both incredible.
Incredibly pink. And shout out to her mom for just being so extra and being like, is that not too pink? Ma'am, what are we saying? Like, the darker pink is a better pink than the baby pink that we were wearing in the beginning. So I think this is not as aggressive as what we were wearing before. But yeah, she does wear very two specific pink dresses. And her mom is always there to, like, you know, take it in, you know, do the work on it, make sure she looks good for whatever Thanksgiving or prom she's going to.
Well, moving down the list of performances in this movie, we've talked about him a little bit. It's Lucas Hedges playing Danny, her first boyfriend. It's this very sweet relationship until she finds out that he is gay and has been keeping this from her, and is like, she catches him making out with another boy in the bathroom after the school play, and it's very upsetting for her. Like, later he comes to her to be like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, I can't tell my family. And she comforts him, and it's like, it's a really nice moment of, like, she, like, does the right thing and doesn't turn her back on her friend, even though it's not, like, the easiest situation of somebody who you, like, really thought you had one certain way kind of connection with, and then you turn out it's a different sort of, you know, it's a different sort of thing.
I think that at no point did Danny not love Lady Bird. I really felt like there was genuine love there, and that he really did love and care for her.
Yeah.
And I think even throughout it, even after the breakup, he still loves her and cares for her. Because when they have that moment after graduation where he walks up to the table and, like, embraces her, and he knows about, you know, the wait list. Her mom don't know about the wait list type of deal, and he kind of drops that bomb on the table. There's still obviously love between the two of them. And though it was really, you know, upsetting for her to find out the way that she found out, I love the fact that when he came to her and said, you know, I don't know what to do with this, please don't tell anybody, she was like, I would never do that. I would never do that. And embraces him. And 2002 was a completely different time for allyship and understanding the LGBTQIA community. So, like, for her in 2002 at 17 to be like, no, that is not, I'm not saying anything. This is between us. And whenever you're ready to share that, you do it. But I will hold you and I'll embrace you and I will just support you through whatever you're going through. I thought that was so beautiful. Yes, Greta, you get all the flowers from me, girl, because that scene just... oh my god, all the snaps. I loved it.
Yeah, he's so warm. I love him in this movie. That scene in particular was probably the thing that stuck with me the most after watching it the first time. Yeah, and I love how specific all of the relationships are. Yeah, it's not like Danny and Kyle are, like, opposites, and it's just sort of like, which one do you choose? They're just, like, two very, like, honest, specific relationships. Something cool I read is that Gerwig offered Lucas Hedges his choice of the boy roles.
Oh, wow.
And he picked Danny.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Which, I mean, seems like the right role for him.
Yes,
having watched
exactly.
it. But yeah, she basically said, like, you can do whichever of these you want to do. And he said Danny.
Was that coming off of Manchester by the Sea? Is that what...
So I think that wouldn't have come out yet. But yeah, Hedges had already kind of broken because Manchester by the Sea comes out in 16 and this comes out in 17. You went to school with Lucas Hedges, didn't you, Owen? I'm not sure if we should say this on air or not. I can cut it out if we shouldn't. But he's kind of from Winston-Salem, so I remember seeing this movie in Aperture. There was a lot of, like, hometown excitement among the crowd to see him in a movie.
Yes.
As there was in Manchester by the Sea.
He went to School of the Arts, the University of North Carolina School of the Arts, for a year before moving on to bigger and better things, such as being in this film and Manchester by the Sea and several other films that he's been in after that. But he was there at some of the same time that I was there when I was a junior, I believe. He was a freshman. I didn't know him super well, but he very, like, warm and loving person. I, like, saw him at parties and talked to him. And his dad is Peter Hedges, who is a, like, famous screenwriter and writer, film producer in his own right. He wrote the book that What's Eating Gilbert Grape is based on, and has done a lot of other sort of stuff like that. And he gave a talk while Wade and I were there together in high school that was very inspiring to me and like instrumental in my decision to like go into directing.
That's interesting because that talk was also what made me want to be a writer.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
And I talked to him briefly after, and he gave me some writing advice, which like really got me started. And then I've seen him a couple times after that too, in Winston, always at Aperture events, which is the indie theater in Winston. While we're doing sponsored content, I would say if you're in the position to, you should support Aperture right now because they're an awesome place. But yeah, Lucas Hedges had kind of already broken the year before. Chalamet was he's the son in Interstellar, which I didn't know until researching this in 2014.
Hey, well.
That sounds like a joke, but let me look it up.
It's legit. It's wild, but he really hadn't done anything. So this and Call Me by Your Name come out the same year, and that's sort of like his big like this guy is going to be in everything now moment. Saoirse, this film came out 10 years after she got the Best Supporting nom for Atonement when she was like a little kid. Wow. And then she did like Brooklyn in 2015, but this is really her like calling card movie, I feel like.
And she was also in a fantastic film, Hannah, from I don't know what year, about a little girl assassin, which I brought up before on our X-Men podcast. You should go watch it.
She's really good. How do we feel about her in this? Because it's the first time we've seen someone else playing like the Greta Gerwig main character role.
So can I ask really quickly, what does the typical Greta Gerwig main character look like?
Well, it's typically played by Greta Gerwig. So
so she is doing the work.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
This is the fifth movie she wrote, and the first one that she's not the main character in.
Yeah.
Or at least like a lead character.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other characters, their dialogue is written like Lady Bird's dialogue is written in this. It sounds kind of different, obviously, because it's a different actor, but it's like very similar attitudes of characters.
Saoirse Ronan takes it more seriously. I feel like I go on more of an emotional journey with her. I think that if Greta Gerwig was doing it, it would be more pure comedy. I think that she is like very funny in a lot of those early movies. Definitely in Mistress America, but like I think even in parts of those early movies that aren't really very funny, she makes it funny just with her very strange line delivery and everything, and like her whole just like goofy personality. I think that having Saoirse Ronan do it like brings more of the emotional depth. And I imagine that'd be very difficult to like play the person that you're working for who also wrote and is directing the movie.
True.
You know, it's like a little daunting.
Well, I will say, Saoirse, she holds her own in this, and I do love that when she is with her scene partners in these scenes, she is really doing the work to hold these people to task and to stay on par, especially with her and Laurie Metcalf. Like, Laurie's been out here in these streets for a long time, so for her to be able to like really keep up and like for them to have these like really nuanced scenes where they're going tit for tat and then 2 seconds later they're enjoying each other's company and really being able to balance that, I think it's fantastic. And I've not seen Greta in her other movies. I haven't seen her other movies, so I don't know how like it, how it, compares and contrasts. But I will say that I agree with you, Emmett. Like, you do go on this roller coaster with her, watching her really hate her hometown, watching her really try to like get out of the West Coast or get out of Sacramento and just like leave that space and be somebody new and find this adventure on the East Coast, and then kind of get there and be homesick and realize I miss my family and I am Christina. I am, what my parents have called me, and I've worked so hard to like be completely different and change myself and, have this identity that's my own. Not realizing that all those things of Sacramento that I hate so much have made me who I am in this moment right now while I'm drunk at this party, vomiting, and now I'm in the hospital. Like, I think she had to really come to task with, oh snap, these things that I've hated all this time really are, in essence, who I am and a part of who I am. And I think that spoke to me a lot as somebody who left her hometown thinking, I'm going to go to the big city of Atlanta and, really try to erase that part of myself when I have to reckon with the fact that, no, like that little podunk town in South Georgia is what made me me and what's gotten me to this place. So
it's more of a year in the life movie. Kind of similar to Frances Ha, I feel like. Like, it's less like she's a character who's chasing one specific thing down the entire time, and more of you're just, like, watching her at all these different stages of her life.
Was there any behind-the-scenes drama on this film?
I've got a little bit of info.
Okay.
Not a ton.
You got some tea?
A little bit, yeah.
Ooh.
So, the first draft of this movie... It was 350 pages long.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And it was called Mothers and Daughters.
Okay. Okay.
And then they whittled it down from there. As you alluded to, Emmett, Greta Gerwig herself grew up in Sacramento, went to a Catholic high school where she graduated about the same time. Moved to New York City to go to college without having visited there before. Has a mother who is a nurse named Christine.
Wow.
So I think like the question is, or interested parties may inquire how much of it is real. Greta has said that nothing in the movie literally happened in my life. So she's saying 0% of it is autobiographical. She said that she was not rebellious at all in high school and that she was the total opposite of Lady Bird. But she said that the events of the movie are connected to her life and they rhyme with the truth.
I love her. I love her so much. They rhyme with the truth. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this movie is deeply personal, right? And I think it's a great example of like, you gotta be so specific to be so universal. Because this is clearly like about a very specific personal mother-daughter relationship that I know I have heard like so many people be like, this is the most accurate representation of my mother-daughter experience in real life on screen. It was interesting hearing her say that it was none of it. I wonder if it was sort of from a starting place of like, what if someone else lived my life? She gave the cast and the crew copies of her high school yearbooks and her high school journals.
Okay, Greta.
I know.
Where are the details? I need to know. I need to read the journals. Give us the Gerwig edit.
And Joan Didion novels, who's a Sacramento writer. She's the one whose quote opens the movie.
Putting it all together. Yeah.
Yeah, so those were like her mood board that she gave to everyone to explain like the time they were trying to replicate. Damn. And I thought you'd enjoy this, Emmett. She said that she wanted to make it look like a female boyhood.
Oh.
And that's where like the look of the movie came from.
Here's my thought on that. I think she failed completely, and thank God she did. If it had been like a female boyhood, it would have been terrible. This far outshines that heaping pile of garbage. Thank you.
Well, I think the proof of the pudding in that is that people will always be like, this is going to be the male Lady Bird.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when that mid-90s Jonah Hill movie was coming out. And I think a couple others people would be like, it's going to be for boys what Lady Bird was for girls.
As if there hasn't been 90 years of film that's that.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, that's pretty much what I got. She cast Ronan before anyone else off of a cold read in her hotel room. While they were both at a festival. Apparently she like had the script and she was like, you want to come back and read something? And Gerwig read all the other parts and Ronan read Lady Bird. And she cast her off of that. And then she cast Hedges and let him pick his role. And then everyone else sort of came together after she had those two locked in.
That's tight. That's so...
And the only other thing I have is that she's not named after the First Lady. Emmett, the first... You know who the First Lady...
the First Lady, Lady Bird Johnson, LBJ's wife. So she's not named after that. So sadly, we are not doing a quiz about First Ladies on film. And that's only part of the reason. The other part of the reason is there are not enough movies about first ladies, or even movies about presidents in which the first ladies appear and are played by famous people that we would have heard of. So fix this, Hollywood. The only other thing I have to say about this is that the second that Doug Emhoff becomes first gentleman, or whatever we're going to be calling him, they're going to be all of these movies about, so what's it like for the first gentleman? We're going to have a first gentleman show on ABC or something, about like a little comedy show about first gentlemen. But where are the first lady movies? We need more of them. And Jackie is like not the most interesting, or at least sorry for that little diversion. Anterior, what do you remember about 2002 for our cultural context segment of this show? Is anything in particular strike you?
I was in the 4th grade is what I remember about 2002, and gosh, what do I remember? That TRL was very much still a thing, and I often wanted to go home and request songs, but my mom was like, "You're not doing that. Do your homework, please." So I wanted to be on the phone calling in to play Cry Me a River, but here we are.
Oh yeah, that's how you know they had a budget for this movie, because they play that Justin Timberlake song,
which I was a little bit mad, but I got into it and I was like, no, I'm mad at Justin right now. So yeah, for real. You can also tell that they were like, we paid $1 million to have the rights. We're gonna play all 4 minutes of this song throughout this whole party scene. It's like, so this is what we're listening to. Also, I just want to point out that they were slow dancing to Crossroads by Bone Thugs and Harmony. And I was like, whoa, this is a song about death? Like, why are we slow dancing in our like giddy up?
That's a real thing.
That's the thing they do at slow dances to make you think about mortality. So like, you'll pour cold water on whatever, lusty thoughts you might be having.
That's a real thing. I was like a few years after this, but I remember in middle school slow dancing to Lollipop by Lil Wayne. Because it's like, sometimes you just gotta take what you get, That and what was the Aerosmith song from Armageddon? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
Oh my
God. No.
That would like close out every dance.
Yeah, our junior prom closed out to Halo by Beyonce. It's like, that's, I feel like we can kind of wrap this up. Can someone call the car around? Like, I love Beyonce, don't get me wrong. I just bought my Icy Park like last week, but Halo is one where I'm like, I don't need to slow dance to this one, so we're just gonna head out, guys.
So that's what we remember from 2002. The school dances were terrible. Yeah.
I had one of like the pebble surfer necklaces that Lucas Hedges had in this movie. I had one of those things. I think mine was probably blue. His was white in this, but I do remember those very clearly.
In 2002, I was 7 years old, and I do not remember much about it at all, except those cool glasses that they wear at the New Year's party. I do remember those things. The 2002 and 2003, and people desperately playing "Tonight We're Gonna Party Like It's 1999" as a throwback. And that was, I remember that. I remember at 7 years old understanding that was sad. 2002, also a year when, one of the years of the past 20 plus years now, that the U.S. has been involved in the war in Afghanistan, which is like kind of something that's happening in the periphery of this movie in a big way. And like that Timothée Chalamet is really upset about, or something, is channeling his emotions away from personal relationships into broader political feelings, which I certainly know some people who might have been guilty of that the past year. That was a thing that was going on, and I think was more in the cultural imagination then. Like, it's still going on. We just don't ever really like talk about it or have to reckon with it at all. But I think like then it was like I remember it being on the radio all the time when I was a kid, and like anytime you were seeing the news, there was like all this, like desert warfare going on and alarming stuff. And I'm sure much more alarming if you're 17, 18 and like actually like understand what that is, like can process what's going on and are having to see it all the time. I'm sure their parents are talking about it. So like a lot of like the high tension in this movie, maybe, I mean, there is like such a thing as like there just being a whole tense environment. I feel like we've been living in one for the past year now, like of just like everybody is more on edge this past year too. And like I feel like that might also be true in this movie. Everybody's just a little keyed up and just like you don't ever know what's going to set people off.
Yeah.
Just my thoughts. Let's talk about this. We kind of talked about it, and I think I know what you are going to choose, but let me ask you who the protagonist is and what they want. Anterior, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go with Lady Bird.
Okay.
As our protagonist. I want to say that Lady Bird there's a lot of things that she wants, but they all kind of go around just her wanting some type of independence, and I think also trying to figure out herself and separate herself from this thing that's around her and kind of get outside of Sacramento and be her own person. With her mom and the control that she has over her, and with Sacramento and the fact that she feels like she's stuck here, I think that she is trying to find herself and take control of her own self. And if that means leaving and getting like clear across country, then that's how she's going to have to do it, and that's fine. Or dating this one guy is how she's going to have to do it, that's fine. But I think she's just trying to have control of her life and do the things that she wants to do.
Wade?
I think it's Lady Bird. I couldn't agree with Anterior more. I think it's hard for me to like put a pin on exactly what she wants throughout most of this, Everything she does feels very like true to her character. Like you're never like, oh, that's a weird thing for her to do. But it also doesn't feel like there's one sort of thing like it's always kind of comes back to her mom, but it's not like she's trying to be like, I want to be nothing like my mom, or I want to leave the house, or I want to be exactly like my mom, or whatever, I don't know.
It's hard.
It is hard because it works dramatically, because you want to say like it's more like real life and less like a movie, and that it's covering like this span of time when all these different experiences, but it does work dramatically. Like it isn't worse for that. You know what I mean? Emmett?
I feel like she wants to name herself.
Ooh. You know what, Emmett? I wish you were right here so I could just slap you, because yes, that's perfect.
Thank you. I think it's like all of, I mean, I don't like, this is not to leave out any of the things that both of you have said. I think I completely agree. But it's this forging of herself. And you don't know who you are until you get out of the place where you were made. And then you find out like what's the stuff that you like take with you. What parts were you and what parts were all the people around you. Like that's what the whole movie is leading towards. And she doesn't even really like, I don't know, this might be one of those things where it's like how consciously does she know that? But she's always naming herself Lady Bird, and like she wants people to know her name and know that it's Lady Bird right up until she doesn't anymore. And like that seems like the big dramatic shift that, in a metaphorical sense, that encapsulates the whole like arc for me.
And then like her eventual name is the one
it's the given one.
Yeah, exactly. So it all because maybe her parents did know her. Now we're going to talk about something a little lighter, a little poppier, a little. All right, we're gonna play a game that we love here called Greta Off Without You, where we rank the potential boyfriends, the potential suitors in this. So Wade, you usually keep track of who we are actually going to put on this list, because I think it is Lucas Hedges as Danny and Timothy Chalamet as Kyle. But is there anyone else you would like to submit?
Yeah, I would submit a couple others that are not suitors of Lady Bird, but are suitors.
Okay.
Also, you always say we rank them, but we actually don't rank them. We just pick which one we would be most likely to date in real life.
Yeah, but ranking, there's rankings. There's yes and no. Those are the rankings.
Okay, that's fair. I would submit the hot teacher.
Oh yes. I would also submit him.
And I would submit Miguel, who we haven't talked about this movie yet, but I love.
Miguel, yeah.
And Miguel is great. Another character who feels like there's a big story there that we're just seeing little pieces of. Mm-hmm. I love the moment where Lady Bird is like, "You're never going to get a job with all that stuff in your face." And he looks like so hurt and shocked. And like it has never occurred to him before that he, as like a goth, weirdo looking dude, like looks any different than anyone else ever in the world.
And then he takes it out of his face when he goes to his job interview. And it's like, look, that baby learned. You're not getting this job if you keep that in your face, dog. I'm telling you now. Cannot go to work like that.
Mm-hmm. And he's like also like, I feel like he's a good big brother too. Mm-hmm. Like he's. I mean, he only fights when she's fighting with her mom. So he also like got a good degree and is now working in a bagging groceries because there's like an economic bad stuff going on.
No, I just thought it was really sweet that whenever he did get his like, big fancy job, that he was like, "Hey, my job at the grocery store is ready for you if you want it." Nepotism, I guess. But he's like, "Hey, they know me. You need a job after high school, so here's something you can do over the summer to make some money." And it's like he did not have to think about her in that regard. He could have been like, "All right, I got my job. Yeah. Peace out, y'all." Good big brother.
Okay, so that's number 4. So we've got these 4: Danny, Kyle, Miguel, hot teacher who we don't know the name of, but we don't really need to. All right, Anterior, of those 4, who would you date?
Can I like make a hybrid, or do I have to pick one?
Oh, you do whatever you want.
You do whatever.
Okay, great. I just love just how sweet and caring Danny is. But that hot teacher is hot. So if I could get the personality of Danny wrapped into the teacher, that would be fantastic. Personally, I really do love Danny and Lady Bird when they're together and they have their moments. The fact that they name a star, they name him Bruce. I didn't do stuff like that with anybody when I was in high school. It was like, we're talking for 2 weeks and then we don't know each other after that. So it's very romantic and very sweet for 2002. And just, it's very clear that he, cares about her and then he loves her. And I love Danny. And the fact that he's a little actor out here, acting under the father, acting under this coach who clearly somehow directed the play. I don't know how. With like football plays.
I love it. I love him so much.
How did we have a successful play when literally you were just like, we're just going to block? We've not done a cold read. We've not done anything. We've not casted this baby. It's like, you're going to go down the stage. You're going to sing though. Then you're going to come back. And like the fact that he can take direction like that from that nonsense and be great. Danny deserves all of the things, so Danny with the teacher's bod is what I want.
Fantastic. Wade, who would you choose out of these 4?
Yeah, I feel like Danny is such a catch. She's so sweet, and they feel like they have the most they feel like they have the closest relationship of anyone in the movie. But I like Miguel a lot too. Miguel's got some style. He's a hard worker. He's trying to increase his station in life. It seems like him and Shelley have a pretty good relationship. Yeah. And really care about each other. So I don't know. I like him a lot too.
Okay.
You're gonna say Chalamet.
Okay, I'm gonna do what Kate did on our first episode with this question and say I'm gonna break this up into 2 categories. Well, on the one category, it's who would I actually date in real life. It's the Timothy Chalamet character. Who would I want to say think that it was a good idea and everything except whatever the thing is would be there? That's the Danny character. So sweet, so kind, so wonderful and pure. But honestly, it's young Timothée Chalamet. He's done it again. He has once again stolen my heart in one of these Greta Gerwig movies. And for the first time, he's actually in it. Well, that concludes our part on Greta Off Without You. And I've just said what I think about our everyday Chalamet. He's amazing. Anterior, this is the part where we talk about everyday Chalamet. We rate Timothée Chalamet's performances in this movie. Spoiler alert, this is the first one he's actually been in. So it's a very special moment for us here. What did you think of his performance in this film? Just a quick recap. I know we already talked about it a little.
I think Timothée say Chalamet really did the work of being just an all-around bad boy jerk, but just with a little bit of, little extra there. Put a little spice on it with his backstory.
Mm-hmm.
He drinks coffee. He reads books at parties. He's not your average bad boy. So I say, hey, I'm here for Chalamet.
I think he plays the character so accurately that, like, if this year he didn't have Lady Bird and Call Me by Your Name, where he's playing another part, like, he would have just played this character for like 8 years and not been able to get any other gigs, and then like that would be it, because he is so good at this specific character. I think how you feel about him is a litmus test of who you are. Like, I think anyone could watch this movie and tell me how they feel about his character, and I could tell them who they are as a person. Because he is just like, how you react to that is very defining of who you are, I feel like. There's no right or wrong answer, but he's just like such a real person. Then, like,
now it's time for the quiz. And this quiz was going to be called Quizzy McGuire.
Solid.
But after Wade talked about the original title for this screenplay, I'm changing the name to Mothers and Daughters, which is actually more thematically appropriate anyhow. So, this is a game that's going to be just a little hard for everybody here, including me.
Oh, good. That's good.
Oh, gosh.
That's good to hear.
So the name of this game is that I'm going to name a famous actress, and then I'm going to name 2 other actresses, and you're going to have to tell me which one they are actually related to and which one they have been in a movie with where they were playing relatives.
Got it.
So it's just relations, it's not mother-daughter?
Most of them are mother-daughter, but I think there might be some that are... It might not necessarily be... It could be somebody's actual mother and their daughter in a movie, or vice versa. And you just have to... But you wouldn't know, because it... You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be the same category. Just because I was having a little trouble on doing the research and getting all the people.
That's okay.
Susan Sarandon is the actress. Saoirse Ronan or Ava Amuri are your 2 choices. One of them has played her daughter in a film. One of them is her real daughter. Or sorry, not necessarily her daughter.
Relative of sorts.
A relative of sorts, yes.
I'm going to say Saoirse is her relative, and Ava played in a movie with her.
I believe I know this one, and I believe it is the opposite.
Dang it!
Okay, wait.
I think Ava Amuri is from Shameless? Or Californication? I think Californication is what she's from.
I don't know what Ava Amuri is from, but she is Susan Sarandon's actual real-life daughter.
Saoirse Ronan is, like, really Irish.
She is, yeah, as the name would suggest. All right, moving right along. We've got Laura Dern as the actress to whom these other actresses may be related. The others are Diane Ladd, Reese Witherspoon.
I don't see age-wise how Reese could line up unless they were like cousins, so I'm going to say Diane Ladd.
Is her relative?
Yes, I'm going to say Diane Ladd is really related to.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same.
You both get a point. That's correct. Laura Dern played Reese Witherspoon's mother in the movie Wild. Yes. And Diane Ladd is Laura Dern's actual mother.
I mean, how old are they? Like 14 years apart?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Next up, we have Viola Davis, Genesis Tenen, and Sania Sidney.
I want to say Genesis is her actual daughter's name. That's my final answer.
All right, I'll go with Sanaya then.
All right. Anterior, you have a point. Wade, you do not. Genesis Tenen is Viola Davis's real daughter, and Sanaya Sidney played her stepdaughter or adopted daughter in the movie Fences. Now we have Carrie Fisher with Debbie Reynolds and Natalie Portman as the 2 other actress options.
Debbie Reynolds is for sure her relative.
Yeah.
All right. Both with the point there. That is correct. And now to bring it all back home, I guess question number 6 or something on this quiz. Meryl Streep, Amanda Seyfried, Mamie Gummer.
Yeah, Amanda Seyfried is her daughter in Mamma Mia, right? So...
And Mamie looks just like her mom, just putting that out there. Like, just like her mom.
All right, here we have it. The final score is, I don't know, but Anterior won.
Yay! Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know
I did so much. Wow.
You know the most about the actresses and who their daughters are, who are also famous actresses. I think this is important. I think they should star in more movies together, perhaps movies about the first ladies and their relationships with their daughters. Perhaps a movie called Lady Bird 2 about Lady Bird Johnson and her relationship with her daughters, if she had any. Final question. Enter, who was your MVP OTLB? Your MVP other than Lady Bird?
Her mom. Watching her drop her daughter off at the airport and then drive around because she knows she messed up, and even still like breaking down and bawling into her husband's arms because she'd missed her child go. I just know like that killed her, and it's clear that this mother loves her daughter. She just doesn't know how to do it in a not so aggressive way sometimes. But yeah, Lauren Metcalf, she, like I said, she gets the flowers for me. She did the work.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
This movie is an embarrassment of riches with side characters who shine in their little part. But I'm going to give it to Lois Smith as Sister Sarah Joan.
Yes.
She is great.
She's so good.
We did not talk about
she's so
her.
good.
She is perfect.
She's so good.
Yes.
She destroys. I think she has maybe 3 scenes, and she's like so good in all of them. Particularly the last one where she talks to Lady Bird about her writing, and she like forgives her for playing the prank on her. And also in like the 10 seconds you see her at the beginning where she's like teaching like some literature class about some famous romance, and she's like very smitten with it, and she'll like, it'll make you swoon. She's so good as that lady. Emmett, who's your MVP?
It's hard. It's a toss-up. I'm going to have to go with Jules as Beanie Feldstein. Incredible.
Yeah.
Her comic delivery is just beautiful, and the relationship that the two of them share is really, I think, like, there's a couple of like beating hearts of this movie, but like their relationship is certainly one of the stronger ones.
Yeah.
And she's hilarious at the same time. All right.
Emmett, can I ask you?
Yes.
What sort of connections, or did you see any through lines from her other movies that we've seen into this one?
I would say that it feels like this is kind of like another go at the backstory of her original character, of Greta Gerwig's original character from Hannah Takes the Stairs. It's like this could be the character that turns into that character. And if we've been tracking her, the people that she was playing through those 4 films as all kind of possibly being the same person, not in any like super textual way, but like it like spiritually the same. I think this kind of follows into that. I thought too, especially after watching Mistress America, that she could be a person who's dealing with having been a mean person in high school, or like having been mean to people in her young life. I'm not sure if that's actually true, especially like you say, she says this movie is 0% based on her real life, but that's kind of what I see. I also see it as being the best written of all of them. Also the best, like the most snappily directed. Just like has the most style.
I think there's a lot there. It really kind of makes sense as the culmination of all of them. It has like the comedy snap cuts, which have been there from the beginning, where like something crazy happens and then it cuts to them like crying in bed or whatever.
Yeah.
This is another take on like the structure of Frances Ha in terms of that like year in a life like sentiment.
Yeah,
I think this has the tone of Frances Ha too, but also a little bit of the comedy of Mistress America. And I think the end is like a little bit of that whole thing from Mistress America, where she's like, actually going to college like doesn't always fix your problems. Like actually freshman year is really hard for a lot of people, and it's not like you get out and then your life is perfect, you know.
Yeah.
And I also thought this movie has the sexual frankness from the first 2 movies that isn't really in the other 2 Baumbach movies.
That's true. Huh.
Which I think is kind of interesting, because I feel like this movie is like beloved in a way, that movies that have like as explicit sexual content as this movie normally aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Like this movie is sort of like celebrated as like a warm, cry, feel good, almost family movie. And we don't see like all of the nudity like we do in those first two movies. But it does have like a very graphic sex scene, like full on discussion of all that stuff. Lots of like masturbation in it too. That was interesting. That sort of like the tone overcomes those things and makes them feel more real in a way that maybe they were striving for in those first movies, but like never quite got there.
Well, I think this just goes back to the fact that if you want realism, if you want something to appear realistic, I think you have to just be more subtle about the way you use metaphor. But it's art. There's going to be metaphor. Like you can't just be like, oh, well, we're not doing that. We're not putting any effort into structuring it in a metaphorical way or like presenting these things in like a preconceived laid out fashion because that would be dishonest. But when the truth is like you can convey greater honesty through delicately laying out how all of these things resonate with each other, you know. Anterior, do you have any plugs, any place where folks can find your work or any projects that you are working on currently that you're excited for listeners to find out about?
Yeah, I just wrapped up a short film with the Alliance Theater's digital series in Atlanta, so keep a lookout for that. Don't know when it's dropping. I just know that I just wrapped on Sunday, so that's all I've got. Right now, my sketch group, Black AF, because I won't say the full name because this is a family show. We are back in works getting things together, so we should be dropping some digital content soon. If you want to follow me on the socials, it's the with two E's, so THEE, Anterior as in the front, not the inside. And yeah, follow me on things. I'm around. And yeah. That's a little bit about what I'm doing.
Well, thank you so much for being with us this evening. We love having you on.
I love being here. Thanks, guys, for having me.
You.
Yeah. It's been so long since I've seen your faces because we're in a pantyhose right now.
I know. Yeah. What a mess.
It's awful.
Anterior is one of my favorite playwrights, no qualifiers. So if you get a chance to check out any of her stuff, you absolutely should.
You are one of my favorite playwrights because only Lady Bob, would have people being murdered on stage and worms coming out of bellies and things. I won't say the full extent of how any of that happened, but I can always count on you to just give me spectacle and like really go for the gusto and be like, I'm just gonna do it. Why not? Leave it to Lady Bob. I love you guys so much.
I love you.
I love you. Do either of you have any final thoughts on this?
I think now I have to go see like Greta's other work. Like now I have to see how it all stacks up and how they all compare and come back again with more thoughts on things.
I'm excited to see the grand finale that is Little Women, a movie that tore me apart the first time I saw it and I haven't seen since. This movie sets the stage for that movie because it's Saoirse Ronan and Greta Gerwig working together for the first time. And that movie, as I remember it, is like an acting bonanza. People are acting all over that movie. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'm just getting really, really hyped up for Little Women. Yeah, I think Greta Gerwig is incredible. I think this was time well spent on these movies. And I think I cannot wait for her to come out with more movies so we get to come back to them and cover them as those come out. Right?
Yeah, this movie rocks. It's awesome. And definitely when it came out, I remember being like, wow, this Greta Gerwig, she's really good. She came out of nowhere. And now having like watched 10 years worth of her movies, I'm like, you don't get to this place just overnight. Yeah, I think it's great. I hope the mom retired in 2019. I thought about that during this movie. Because she's already working doubles in 2002, and it looks like she'd be maybe close to 60 in 2020. So, yeah, I hope she had a nice retirement party in 2019 and stayed safe at home with old Tracy Letts.
Yeah. She deserves.
Well, everybody, join us next week when we discuss Little Women, the 2019 Timothy Chalamet, Saoirse Ronan, Laura Dern, Florence Pugh, Vehicle, Little Women. Oh my God, I can't wait.
Oh boy.
Stay frosted. Love you
you
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Cinema Bums is a production of DKG Podcast. It is created and produced by Wade Lawrence Holloman and me, Emmett Temple. Wade also edits and mixes this podcast. Our theme music is by Zane Holloman, who you can find on Bandcamp, and our show art is by Autumn Beckner. Our social media is managed by Laura Bennett. If you like what you hear, please tell all your friends and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, the 2 best ways to spread the word about our work. You can also follow us on Instagram at CinemaBums or email us at cinemabumspod@gmail.com. Don't flake on us. We'll be back next week.